ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner, a first question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money, they were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that, and let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
That's just a little taste of what happened yesterday. We'll play some more clips for you as we move through this hour. When we come forward, we will spend the rest of this hour in dialogue with an all-star panel. I'll be joined by Dean Jacqueline Jackie Jones out of Morgan State. We'll be joined by our own Dr. Nicolai Corte, the White House correspondent for this station, my home station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580. We heard across the country. But Dr. Nicolai Corte will be with us. He has a new book out about Kamala Harris called Kamala, the Motherland and Me. We'll be joined by Dr. Kim Dulaney. Again, everybody will get a more in-depth introduction as we move forward. And we'll be joined by my colleague on WVON, the voice of the Negro in Chicago, Atiba Buchanan, an all-star panel that I can't wait to get to when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
I said moments ago that Donald Trump questioning Kamala Harris's blackness is his new brand of birtherism. I stand by that. Kamala Harris did have a brief response to what Donald Trump said in Chicago yesterday. Miles, give me her response and we'll move forward.
Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect. And let me just say, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve better. The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength. So I say to Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, ours is a fight for the future.
There, you have a taste of what Vice President Kamala Harris had to say yesterday in response to what Donald Trump had said previously at NABJ in Chicago. Now to my roundtable for the rest of the hour. Dean Jacqueline Jackie Jones. I'm honored to have on this program. She's Dean of the School of Global Journalism and Communication at Morgan State University in Baltimore City. A veteran newswoman, Jones has worked in a variety of capacities in newsrooms all around the country, and I am so delighted to congratulate her in advance of her being the recipient of the inaugural Drum Major Award at this year's conference. Congratulations, Dean Jones, and honored to have you on this program. How are you today?
Well, Tavis, it's good to hear your voice again.
It's good to hear yours again. I'm going to get to my other guests as we move through this hour, but I want to come to you first because I know I only have you until the bottom of the hour. I am grateful that Dr. Kim Dulaney and Dr. Nicolai Corte and T.Will Buchanan will be with me for the full hour, but I want to give you a little extra time here to start because I know you've got to run at the bottom of the hour. Let me just start broadly. You've heard my assessment. That's neither here nor there. Everybody has their own points of view, their own way of seeing this. As a longtime member of NABJ, I am told that you boycotted yesterday's event. So for starters, make sure I got my facts correct. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I just thought, that this was going to be a circus. You knew what he was going to say, and I just wasn't going to participate in that. I knew he wasn't going to give anyone a straight answer, but more importantly, he wasn't going to give. He looked at this as a platform to be disruptive, and folks gave it to him. They fed into it, and it was exactly his game plan. He never meant to be straight with African Americans or anybody else, but he just wanted to create this. He wanted to stir the pot. Yeah. And the first time he says something that people react to, and it's like Ron Nixon, who's a very talented, longtime investigative journalist, always says, "Liars lie, and you just have to let them and move on." And instead of our doing that, we fed right into it. We gave him exactly what he wanted. And I knew that he was also going to use his appearance there to say, "Oh yeah, I showed up for the black people and Kamala didn't." Yeah. And so I wasn't going to be party to that.
Fair enough. When you say they fed into it, the they you're talking about obviously is the audience of NABJ members. That's the they I assume you're talking about. But unpack for me what you mean by they fed into it.
I think that booing him, hollering when he's making these outrageous statements. Also, there were a fair number of white supporters in the audience. When I got to the hotel yesterday, there were a bunch of folks in the line waiting to get in And, so he had supporters there. There were people, there were protesters and counter-protesters outside of the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was so it was all eyes on him. And people are still talking about it this morning, even though Evan Gershowitz and Paul, I'm blanking out on his name, who's been held in Russia.
In Russia, yes,
are scheduled to be released. You would think on a normal day, that would be the headline news of the day. And Trump is still claiming the headlines of the morning. And so I think that he got what he wanted out of it. We didn't.
Yeah. You heard me say earlier that he detonated a grenade yesterday that blew up all the media attention that Kamala was getting. And I believe that NABJ in some ways was complicit in giving him, again, that kind of attention. So I think we agree on the fact that he accomplished what his end and name was when he arrived in Chicago. Yes or no?
I didn't hear the last part of that.
Do we agree that he accomplished what he intended to do in Chicago yesterday?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Kim Delaney, let me come to you. Kim Delaney is in Chicago. She's an executive at one of my favorite museums. I'll let her brag about that a little bit later in this hour. But she's also an African-American scholar, educator, and I'm pleased to have Dr. Kim Delaney on this program. I'm surrounded by too many doctors today. Dr. Kim Delaney, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's my great honor, Kim. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing remarkably well. Same sort of opening salvo for you. What did you see, and what did you make of the drama yesterday?
Well, it's so layered what I saw. What I saw firsthand was Trump being who he is and being exactly on point for what his objectives were. Mm-hmm. He's very good at that. He's a reality star. He knows how to shape narratives. He knows what his key points are. He knows what his takeaways are, and he accomplishes them all the time. And you hear that with young people, especially like with young students in class and stuff. My students, young black males in Chicago, a lot of them you hear, and some older, they identify with Trump, with that bravado of his. When he can point out like, oh, I'm the victim, look how the black woman is attacking me. He hits his key points. I think for me, what's so telling sometimes is how beautiful we are as a people. We're just so beautiful that sometimes we're too beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. So we hope and wish for the best out of everybody, and we're hoping that he'll answer correctly, and we're hoping that like we could rattle something in him that to make his humanity come forth for something that's not there. Yep.
I want to ask this question of the two black women on my panel. That would be Kim Delaney and Dean Jackie Jones. I'll get to Nee Quarterly and Tifa in just a moment here, so just stand by. Everybody's going to get some of this. Trust me. You've got a whole hour here. But since you went there, Kim, let me follow you first, and I want Dean Jones to sound off on this. And these are questions that we need to address and a conversation we need to have in our community, and I ain't scared to have it. There were 3 black women who questioned Donald Trump yesterday. Every one of us knows all the storyline about Donald Trump siphoning off black male voters. I said earlier that NABJ was not ready for prime time. I do not like the way that they framed this conversation yesterday. I ain't even got to the fact that there were no black-owned media on the stage, so that everybody there works for a corporate entity. Put a pin in that. I'm coming back to that, trust and believe. No black-owned media got on the stage. Having said that, somebody made a decision for 3 black women to interrogate, to be interlocutors with Donald Trump when we know the narrative that he's trying to siphon off black men, but no black man got on the stage to represent brothers in the Q&A. I think that was a critical mistake on the part of NABJ. That's just me. You first, Kim Delaney. And I ain't hating on sisters. I'm talking about strategy. Your first response, Kim Delaney, then we'll go to Dean Jones.
Absolutely, Tavis. That's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, where are the guys? Where are the guys on here, right? Surely we already know he's called you a cat woman. He's called you this. It's personal. There's some film, you filming under there. It's personal. Yeah. So we need somebody who can have the demeanor of just neutral so that, because we know the audience is divided. Some people are for him, some people are against him.
Sure.
We're trying to see what you can provide to the people who are on the bubble. And once you have that kind of tone, That's the tone, because everything you say communicates something, not just the words, but the way you say it. Once you have that tone, people say, okay, she's against them. And that's that. And for black men who side with them, they say she was already against them. She didn't, so it didn't help at all.
There's no question that Rachel had a tone. I'm not saying she's not a good journalist. I'm told she's out of USC, the Annenberg School, I believe, has a good job at ABC and does great work for them. But she had a tone to that first question. It was clear, and black folk have to acknowledge that. Just call a spade a spade. And these brothers who are considering voting for Donald Trump heard that tone yesterday. You heard the point that Kim Delaney made a moment ago. Dean Jones, my question to you is whether or not you think it was a strategic mistake for your organization to not put a brother on that stage.
Oh, absolutely. I think that there were a couple of problems here. One was they were all broadcasters. Nothing against broadcasters, but they shouldn't all be from the same platform.
That's right.
No men, and the age differential wasn't large enough. There are people who are very seasoned journalists who have history covering presidential politics, who could have put some perspective in there. And as you mentioned earlier, no black-owned media. So I've thought that was a mistake. But I also think it felt as if there was no planning. You plan your show every day, and you're not going to let somebody come in and upset your agenda. You know how to cut their mic. You know what to plan. You know what to anticipate. And usually when you've got journalists on a panel for something like this, there's some conversation beforehand about, what are we going to address? What are we going to ask? You only have a certain amount of time, and you're going to plan this thing out. And it felt so unplanned, and it just didn't seem that anybody had given any forethought. We invite candidates to the convention every year, every
4 years. Year. Yeah, sure.
Every 4 years.
Yeah.
And you prepare for this. Some show, some don't. But you are prepared for whatever they do or expect them to do. Or, the year that George Bush turned us down and then showed up walking through the hotel and decided to have an impromptu press conference in the atrium, hoping that he wouldn't get anybody. And I remember Gwen Ifill turning to me and saying, "Where's Mike Fletcher from the Washington Post?" I ran and found Fletcher and directed him to the atrium, and then we just started passing the word down. So folks were ready because they anticipated that Bush would probably pull some stunt like that, and we were ready for it. So you plan for that.
Yep.
It may appear to be impromptu, but you don't get taken by surprise in your own house.
Let me ask you this question again, Dean Jones. I know I'm going to lose you. I've got Kim Delaney and Atiba Buchanan and Nicola Laquate for the rest of the hour. So one or two other quick questions to you. I'll let you go, and we will continue. You are the dean, as I said earlier, of the School of Global Journalism and Communications at Morgan State University. This organization has in its title the National Association of Black Journalists. I asked earlier, not at all rhetorically, how we would respond in Black America if a room full of thousands of white journalists had behaved that way with Barack Obama while he was running for president. I don't want to say any more. I don't need to say any more. On the journalism tip, on the nonpartisan tip, how did you read these black folk in this room yesterday in Chicago?
I had to watch it after the fact because I wasn't there initially, as I said at the beginning. I was just frustrated that they fell for it. That's what it really felt like. We spent a lot of time preparing our students not to do that. We tell them that whatever you're thinking, feeling is neither here nor there. You are there to record, cover, report the news out, not to be the news. And I just think that, even if you weren't working that day, you're always working when you're a journalist. And so you should always be prepared, and you shouldn't feed into the theater. It was a spectacle, and I was embarrassed. Yeah.
Dean Jones, I thank you for your time on this program. I know you've got to run. Jackie Jones is Dean, once again, of the School of Global Journalism and Communications at Morgan State University in Baltimore City. Congratulations once again. This is a big deal. You are the inaugural Drum Major Award recipient at this year's conference. I congratulate you on that once again. Thank you for your time, and all the best. You will do it again soon, I hope.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Good to have you on this program. Atiba Buchanan is the co-host of Afternoons with Buchanan and Hill, which airs daily on my favorite black talk station, WVON, the voice of the Negro in Chicagoland. Atiba, good to have you on the program. I've only got 2 minutes here. We'll continue when we come forward. But in these 2 minutes, opening salvo for you, what did you think of what went down yesterday?
Thank you, first of all, for having me, and it is an absolute pleasure to speak with you and your audience. Great question, and my answer is simple. I thought it was a missed opportunity. There was certainly conversation about whether or not he should have appeared, and again, I think there's no question about that. You definitely want to have him appear if he's available. But moreover, again, missed opportunity. I think what we often do, and journalists of every stripe make this mistake with Donald Trump, we have conversations with him questioning that looks backwards. So when he's asked, why should black people trust you? And he begins to rattle off things that he did or said in 2016 and 2017 and 2018. I would love for the rebuttal to be, that's great, but why? What are you going to do in 2025? What are you going to do for black people in 2026? And we get caught up in this loop of trying to hold him accountable for something he's either said or done 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, as opposed to illuminating the fact that he really doesn't have an agenda for black Americans. Actually, he doesn't have an agenda for the average American, but we never get to that conversation. And I think that is one of the biggest mistakes and mishaps from yesterday.
His name is T-Bob Buchanan. He is a co-host of Afternoons with Buchanan and Hill. Airs daily 3 to 6 in the city of Chicago. For those who will be in Chicago for the convention, tune him in while you're moving around the city, 3 to 6 weekdays on WVON. When we come forward, we'll have more of this conversation with Dr. Kim Dulaney, Dr. Atiba, I'm calling him Doctor. I just elevated him. Atiba Buchanan will remain with us, and we will hear the voice of, he is a doctor, Dr. Corte will join us as well when we come forward, talking about yesterday, Chicago, Donald Trump, NABJ. I got a lot more questions, and surely they have answers. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is introducing a bill to make sure presidents don't have criminal immunity, outlining the No Kings Act, signed by more than 24 Democratic lawmakers. It's a response to the Supreme Court's recent ruling that former President Trump has limited immunity for some actions taken while in office. The Biden administration is calling for airlines to seat parents next to their young children free of charge. If approved, the Department of Transportation's rule would require families to be kept together when seating is available. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says flying with children is hard enough without worrying about being able to sit with them on a flight. The U.S. added 4 medals on Wednesday at the Paris Olympics with 30 medals, including 5 gold, 13 silver, and 12 bronze. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Island on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The U.S. men's Olympic basketball team had a dominant performance against South Sudan. They won by 17. 18 points off the bench for Bam Adebayo. LeBron had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 of Team USA's 29 assists. The win moves Team USA into the quarterfinals on Saturday. They'll play Puerto Rico. The U.S. women's basketball team is back in action today. They take on Belgium, 11:15 a.m. tip-off on the USA Network. Dodgers fans are getting a little nervous after losing back-to-back games to San Diego. The Dodgers led the Padres by 9 games games in the NL West in mid-July, that league has shrunk to 4.5. The Dodgers closed out July 11-13, their first losing month since April of 2018. The first NFL preseason game is today. The Chicago Bears and Houston Texans meet up in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Former USC star Caleb Williams, the Bears starting quarterback, will not be in the lineup. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, home of the 2024 Climate Justice Campaign.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice, and injustice. The courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you believe
I
that
think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length.
Just a little taste of Donald Trump yesterday at the NABJ convention. I'm pushing very quickly to Nicolai Corte. Before I do that, one more time, Dr. Kim Delaney, I come to you after playing that particular clip. I didn't know we were going to play that one, but since we played that clip, you are what I would call a specialist in identity construction. What did you hear Donald Trump saying in that particular passage?
Performance, reality star performance. He's just trying to say that, he's playing, because it doesn't matter, even if she's an Indian. What does that matter? Well, who cares? Why are you talking about that? So he's still playing to the divisiveness, and that she's not who she said, that she's a flip-flopper. He's getting his points across, that trying to say she flip-flops, even though he creates it in his own mind. I said to people that Donald Trump, what I know that the guys identify with in him is he tells the truth. It's just that it's only his truth. That's the only truth he knows. The rest of it is made up. He just makes up stuff.
Yep.
But his truth is that that's how he sees the world. And when we talk to him, he's unable to filter anything else. He just talks through his own racist, sexist lens. And that's what he says.
Yep.
He says it, he tries to say it lightly, but he still says that she's a flip-flopper, she's not black. That means you all shouldn't side with her. He defends Cat Lady, all of these things. So he shows, he boldly says who he is. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't go against it.
He does not. You've been patient, Dr. Nicolai Corte. He is the White House correspondent from a home station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580. He hosts his own show daily on KBLA called A More Perfect Union. And he's author of a book that just dropped. Talk about good timing. The book is called Kamala, The Motherland and Me, an invitation to challenge your assumptions about Madam Vice President, Africa, and ourselves. Nicolai Corte, how are you today, sir, for starters?
I'm doing well, Tavis. How are you?
Doing the best I can. You know me, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. Let me jump right in. Everybody else has had their opening salvo. Give me yours. What did you make of yesterday?
Well, I think yesterday I thought we saw Donald Trump's greatest hit yet again, and it was blaring from the stage at NABJ. And I think so many of us members of NABJ were taken aback at how unprepared it seemed the co-moderators were for the usual okey-doke that we see time and time again. I think some of your other guests on the show have hit on some very salient points, one of which is planning. We know as journalists, as talk show hosts, there's a lot of planning that goes into every show to make it look easy. And the fact that Project 2025 did not get the kind of attention it should have, by the time they got to it, they had run out of time. I was baffled by that. I will say that there were some legitimate questions that got in, but Donald Trump did his usual maneuvering, and I think the members of NABJ and the people of America were really at a loss. That was an opportunity that could have worked out differently if planned differently, but it was also a big risk. And I think NABJ has attracted some reputational harm as a result of it. It's unclear to me whether or not the leadership of NABJ will issue an apology or will answer questions from members as to what process was afoot that led to this. We know that there have been a number of presidents and presidential contenders in years past that have been invited to speak at NABJ. That is not unusual, but to platform someone that has a track record of being antithetical to your mission, antithetical to a free press, I think it raises questions as to whether or not he should have been invited at all. And I think those are legitimate questions.
Do you believe, you heard my assessment earlier, I think he should have been invited. Their policy has been to invite the major party candidates every 4 years. You tiptoed up to the line. Let me ask you to put your foot across it one way or the other. Do you think he should have been invited?
I think that there is an enormous risk by inviting him, and I don't think that they did the work to mitigate that risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a part of what people are responding to.
Right.
It also feels like there may be some integrity that is lacking in how this was rolled out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I'm saying. I agree that, look, there are presidents and presidential contenders of years past that have all been invited of both major parties to speak at NABJ. I don't take issue at that. Donald Trump is a different brand. He represents something different. And if they were to invite him, I think they needed to be prepared for it, and they weren't.
Yep. When we come forward, I want to ask this question of all of my guests, Dr. Kim Delaney, Atiba Buchanan, and Dr. Nicola Corte, and that is what yesterday says or does to the future of black journalism. I am mindful, although I don't like this reality, it's as real as rain. Somebody once said years ago, famously, that when and where we enter, the whole race enters with us. As individuals, when and where we enter, the whole race enters with us. That's just a fancy way of saying, I got a smart audience, you've already figured it out, that we all get painted with this broad brush. I said earlier, this was not black America's best moment yesterday. And I'm wondering, and Nicola could have teed this up for me, I'm wondering what we think as four people in this conversation right now. Dr. Jones has left us. As four black people who are in this business, I wonder what we think individually of what this says or does to the roles we play in our chosen profession. We'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley with Atiba Buchanan, who's the co-host of Afternoons with Buchanan and Hill on WVON in the Windy City. Atiba, my time's getting tight. I'll start with you first. What say you about the impact, the damage done, perhaps, you tell me, to those of us who are Black and in this profession? I'm talking now about what happened yesterday in Chicago, of course.
By all means, I would encourage everyone not to overreact.
Yep.
I am well more concerned about our perspective of ourselves internally than I am worried about any type of external factors on Black media. I'm concerned about the infighting that we're seeing, and I would love to see us hash this out inside the House, reach our conclusions, take whatever lessons we need to learn from this experience, and then grow from it. We live in a world that has very short memories. We in a month, we will barely remember the meltdown Joe Biden had in his last debate. This is something that, again, is not going to hold anyone back. Don't overreact, but we have to handle this business in-house amongst ourselves, and that's my biggest concern.
When you say infighting, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, there are so many different opinions about. Roland Martin appeared on our show yesterday, and he was upset that Donald Trump was allowed to speak at all. He said something to the effect of, "You don't allow evil in your house." So when we can't even agree on whether or not we should have an interview as journalists, I think those types of things need to be understood, agreed upon before we even do something like that. I think that sometimes we can forget what it's, that our job is to provide information to people that don't do this every day, that don't listen every day, to the lay person. And we spend so much time viewing it through the lens of a journalist that we forget to try and view it through the lens and have empathy for the consumer of the information.
Yeah.
So again, my concern is more in-house than anything else.
With all due respect to Roland Martin, America's house was built on evil. You ain't got to let it in. It's in the walls. It's in the walls. It's in the carpet. Sorry, Roland. You missed on that one, brother. The house is evil, constructed that way. I digress on that. Dr. Kim Delaney, what say you about the impact this might have on those of us in this profession?
Well, Tavis, I think that he should have been invited. It should have been better contextualized so that we understood why he was invited. They do this every year. That's the whole thing about us becoming skilled at controlling the narrative. Narratives control the reality, right? We look at Hitler, he used narrative. So we can't just rely on facts. So what I think is that it's a great lesson. I commend the ladies. They tried. They had prepared good questions, well-packed questions, but they didn't have the other tools. See, so if you're uninformed, if you think that just the facts alone, I'm going to have my facts together and I'm going to slay this dragon, it's not possible.
Yeah.
You need the other tools. You need bigger, broader tools if we're going to fight this war against racism and oppression. You need to have a psychological understanding. You need to look at all of those things so that you can expect and be fluid enough to bounce back and know what you're going to punch, what to grab. that comes from a skilled person, and you have to have some battle scars.
Oh yeah, it
to
takes
do
some.
that. And that's why I think it was the wrong people.
No, I hear your point.
Yeah.
It takes some experience, and Dean Jones echoed your point when she was earlier on this program that you need some veterans on that stage, at least one veteran on that stage. When we come forward in our remaining moments, you heard Dr. Delaney use that phrase, slay the dragon. I want to put this to our friend and brother, Corte. For all those who've been saying that Kamala is going to clean Donald Trump's clock when they get on stage together, the prosecutor versus the felon, how do you feel about that today, watching Donald Trump take on not one, not two, but 3 black women at one time? Donald Trump was fighting lions with a switch yesterday. 3 of them at one time. So for those who say he's going to clean her clock, she's going to clean his clock just because she was a former prosecutor, when you saw him up against 3 at one time yesterday, I wonder what Nicola Corte thinks about that. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Mayfresh Daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed. Nicola Corte, my time is getting away from me. I got 3 minutes left here. 2 questions for you. Number one, your thoughts on what damage may have been done to our profession as black folk in the media business. And number 2, are there learnings that Kamala Harris ought to take away from Donald Trump taking on not 1, not 2, but 3 black women at the same time yesterday?
Well, in terms of any damage to our profession, Tavis, look, we take hits all the time. and there are times where we get it right. There are times where we don't get the story right. There are days where we soar, and there are days where we don't. And so, you take this on the chin and you keep on moving. And I think that's just sort of the nature of journalism. And so I'm not so concerned about that. I think the vice president represents a serious contrast with former President Trump. I think that's what part of the anticipation of that debate, if it happens on September 10th, I think it's part of what it's about. And I think people get to see on the stage, a philosophy of inclusion versus a philosophy of grievance. People get to see a former prosecutor. They get to see a 34-time convicted felon. They get to see somebody who is talking about the future of this country and the world, and somebody that wants to turn the clock back to the world as it once was. And so I think it's going to be an important inflection point in this election cycle, not just for the U.S., but for the world. And based on my reporting of Vice President Harris's trip to Africa, there are democracies across Africa and around the world that will be paying very close attention.
Let me read one message. So many messages coming in from listeners. Let me read this. Dr. Delaney, here's a guest who says, I agree with Dr. Kim Delaney. And they go on to say this, which I think is instructive and informative. We were talking a bit about this yesterday on our show. When Bill Cosby, reading, again, a listener comment, when Bill Cosby changed the narrative about black people with The Cosby Show, he did so with a black psychologist as a staff person and consultant on that show. We are not in the usual frame. We are dealing in a psychological war, and just like reality shows have psychologists as part of their crew to help craft those stories, NABJ should have had a psychologist consult them on how to approach Donald Trump. I agree with Dr. Kim Delaney. We will leave it there. Dr. Kim Delaney, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Atiba Buchanan, good to have you on. Love your show, Afternoons at Buchanan and Hill. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. in the Windy City. Atiba, good to have you on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
And our friend and brother, Dr. Neat Quarterline Corte, host of A More Perfect Union here in L.A. on KBLA Talk 1580 and author of the brand new book, a #1 Amazon bestseller in the category Kamala, The Motherland and Me, an invitation to challenge your assumptions about Madam Vice President, Africa, and ourselves. Dr. Corte, as always, my friend, good to talk to you. I'll see you soon.
Always good to talk to you, Tavis. Take good care.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is introducing a bill to make sure presidents don't have criminal immunity, outlining the No Kings Act, signed by more than 24 Democratic lawmakers. It's a response to the Supreme Court's recent ruling that former President Trump has limited immunity for some actions taken while in office. The Biden administration is calling for airlines to seat parents next to their young children free of charge. If approved, the Department of Transportation's rule would require families to be kept together when seating is available. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says flying with children is hard enough without worrying about being able to sit with them on a flight. The U.S. added 4 medals on Wednesday at the Paris Olympics with 30 medals, including 5 gold, 13 silver, and 12 bronze. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Island on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Me and the kids were always messaging. They LOL'd, I ROFL'd, but then I changed phone and the bubbles went green. But where there's a fill, there's a way. And I found a way to share what's in here. I'm tapping my heart.
WhatsApp, the place to safely send messages between different devices. Message privately with everyone.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The U.S. men's Olympic basketball team had a dominant performance against South Sudan. They won by 17. 18 points off the bench for Bam Adebayo. LeBron had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 of Team USA's 29 assists. The win moves Team USA into the quarterfinals on Saturday. They'll play Puerto Rico. The U.S. women's basketball team is back in action today. They take on Belgium, 11:15 a.m. tip-off on the USA Network. Dodgers fans are getting a little nervous after losing back-to-back games to San Diego. The Dodgers led the Padres by 9 games in the NL West in mid-July. That league has shrunk to 4.5. The Dodgers
50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including